Got on the bench today a Gibson ES175D. D is for the double. P9 easier. This was made in 1954. 71 years old. So such an incredible guitar. I feel very fortunate to be able to work on this and get my hands on it. The neck feels incredible. It feels so good. Not really sure what is it about it, but just really liked playing this guitar. It's in for a refret. The frets are very low. They're at about 26 thousandths of an inch, which is, fretless wonder territory. They're very flat, most of them. Some are even lower. They're very low at the edges. And as much as you should put off on refretting a guitar like this, I think it's time. The owner agrees. This belongs to my friend Roger, and he's excited about this. There's some issues with the nut. I don't know if I'm able to pick it up, but the nut slot is, I don't know what's going on down there, but the bottom of the nut is not touching the slot. I can actually fit a string all the way through there, so there's contact, I think, only on the edges, probably because of the shrinking. Some issues with the tuners as well. Some of the bushings are kind of coming out or popping out. They're kind of crooked. So that's gonna have to be addressed as well. You see the bridge, the riser here, there's a piece missing. Maybe I'll do something about that. The bridge is tilted pretty substantially on both sides, tilting forward as these do. Other than that, I mean, it plays really good. The neck seems to be in really good shape. And just a beautiful guitar. So I'm excited to work on this. Yeah, so this guitar has some crazy grooves on the pickup, the neck pickup here, which is, I wonder if this is Bakelite plastic, just an old school. If they're the originals, they must be. Cool tailpiece. This guitar has been refinished, I'm told, but they did make these in blonde, this color, and sunburst as well. There are, really cool guitar, Brazilian rosewood fretboard, no headstock brakes, so this one survived. The old school logo here, you see how there's some craze in there. There's a little chip on the nut. I'll probably keep this nut. It seems to be original. I'll just shim it up with some mahogany. And the tuners need work as well, like I said. Just an amazing instrument, a piece of history. I'm very excited to work on this. The guitar started being taken apart here, took the strings off. You can see the bridge footprint. It won't be a problem getting it back where it was before, a little tan line there. And started analyzing this bridge. Here's the first problem. The posts are secure in place. That's not a problem at all, but the wheels, there is a lot of slop in the wheels, both in this one and this one. So it's like the wheel doesn't really fit in here. On top of it, the bottom of the bridge itself there's all kinds of funny angles here. It's like it was meant to rock, which, as far as I'm concerned, that's not really good for anything. You can see when I put it on the post here, wiggle, very wiggly, even if I lower it down here. It does have, let's put it over here. It does have the brass ferrules there. But yeah, it shouldn't really do that, and it shouldn't do this either. I understand what happened to the bottom of this bridge now. All of these crazy angles here on these outside areas, and I just thought somebody went loose with a file or something in there, but really what happened, and I'm pretty sure of this now, they just brought this to a belt sander, and you can see that these angles outside here, they will sort of match. They will match this, and this angle also matches this. So yeah, somebody in an attempt to lower the bottom part of this bridge just basically lowered it down on a belt sander and was very little careful with it. This is probably the original bridge as well, so it sucks. And the solution for me will be to use my shooting board to square this up again. Yeah, the sides here, this part is flat. You can see with, and they are parallel as well. So you can see just how off square this thing is right now. Don't know if you can, the camera's picking that up, but this is horrible. So I will bring it to my shooting board, which is square here, and get my oak block, which has a 90-degree angle here, and true the bottom first, and you can see it's starting to take out some material here, and then yeah, get that solved and then work on the outside of it. It's gonna be a lot of work. So I started filing this down. So this side is pretty much done. You see the bottom, it's all kinds of angles, and I still haven't worked on this side, so you can see the difference. It goes to get everything flat now and square with the sides. And problem solved. Now it's the whole thing is flat. There's some minor adjustments I'll probably have to do. I see that this side is a little bit lower, but everything is flat and square. No more funny angles. A little bit here, a little bit there. I have to do some less touch-ups, but for the most part, looks much better. There are a few issues with this nut as well. This guitar is gonna get a refret, like I said, and you can see just how low these frets are. And the nut is not making any contact at the bottom there. I think that this head plate, I'm not really sure what happened. So let's tap this nut out of here. You can see just what a gap we have there. Let's just tap this nut out of here and see what's going on under there. Yeah, so a whole lot of glue has been used to get this nut down, and it's just kind of caked with glue in there. And the nut slot itself, let me see if I can get this here now. The nut slot itself is very uneven, so you see how much it rocks here when I put my ruler or straight edge on it. So this is gonna have to be cleaned, resurfaced. The head plate, the angle there kind of also needs to be, it just needs to be reflattened and dressed and all that. I will be either making a new nut, since this is going to be refretted, or probably shimming this nut. I think that this is the original nut, so good idea to keep it. Started cleaning up this nut slot here. There's still some glue on the fingerboard there. The problem is the nut slot is getting low. It was low. It was low from before. It's hard to level it, and I'm getting to the actual neck here, so I don't want to go any lower to take off more material here. I'm gonna keep flattening this inside of the fingerboard, but I'm gonna stop with, at least on the edges, I'm not gonna re-flatten anymore. And I'm going to shim that nut with some mahogany. Gonna glue it with high glue, and then glue, surface that underside, that shim, and fit it to this slot instead of trying to lower the slot even further. It's fine now, but I don't want to go any lower. Got the nut being shimmed here now. Glued a piece of mahogany with hide glue, just for the sake of it. It's very, very oversized, obviously, but you can always take off material. And hide glue is reversible, so because this is likely the original nut, I would like to preserve it, and can always remove this with heat and a little bit of steam. The bridge pickup has the riser. It has the original screws, it seems, and this one didn't, got tampered with, so doesn't have the original screws. Once I pull it out here, you see that the riser, there's just a little front there of it, and this probably had humbuckers in at some point. It seems like they routed it out here. Few extra screws, so we're gonna have to get new risers for it, find the right size and the right height, and add to the guitar. And this is one of the things, once you start working, I've noticed this from before, but once you start working, opening the guitar up and working on it, you start finding things out that you didn't account for. But we will, this is a minor thing. We'll address it and move forward. Started pulling some of these frets out. Coming out pretty clean. Barely any chipping, which is great for a guitar this age. One thing to notice is that this guitar in particular doesn't have the nibs, the fretboard, or the fret binding that goes over to the side. I don't know if these were removed previously in fret jobs that this guitar has gotten, or if it never had them. I certainly don't see any sign that it had it before, and some of the frets are really not on top of the binding at all. So when I refret this, the frets will go all the way across until the edge of the fretboard. I don't see really a way of not doing that unless I take off this binding, and it's pointless. And in a guitar this vintage, I wouldn't start messing with it like that. But yeah, no nibs on this one. Either that is from the factory or removed later on. The frets have been removed. Pretty clean job, if I can say so myself. Almost no chipping. The slots still needs to be the slots need to be cleaned up and some gunk removed here. Now I'm going to start flattening this board. As Gibsons do, this has a one-way truss rod. Here's the issue: if I just make this board flat with a truss rod and then flatten it with my sanding beam just to get the last few spots out,
If when I shrink this up, there isn't enough relief with a loose truss rod, let's say, I would have nowhere to go. So in my view, the way to do this is to bring the neck into a slight back bow, which I have here, and then sand it flat. If once the strings bring up to tension, it doesn't have enough relief, I can release the truss rod a little bit. If it has too much, I can tighten the truss rod, and that will give me control both ways. So now it's the time to do it, and let's do it. And the tools I'm going to be using to get this job done of reflattening this fretboard will be the Stumac under string leveler here. This is just a piece of aluminum that's machined flat, and an aluminum 12-inch radius sanding block. Now I don't want to grab this thing and go across on the fretboard, because with these radius, this underside here is radius, as you can see. If you shift it just a little bit like this, obviously I'm exaggerating, but if you shift it like this, you will change the radius of it. It will turn it into a tighter radius. It was sort of hard for me to understand. I'll see if I can demonstrate here, but as it is right now, it's sitting just on it. If I do this, now all of a sudden this is touching in just 2 points and rocking. It means that it's not touching in every side. It's gonna touch on the outside until the sandpaper will eat at it and turn it into a tighter radius. I don't want to do that with this instrument, so I'm going to use this just to mark it, to get to the high spots, and try to figure out when I'm going off the radius, and then correct it with this bar that can just follow the radius. This also gives me the opportunity to radius like this. I don't have to go up and down. So it takes time, but this is the way to do it, in my opinion. Now you can see after a few passes with both of those blocks, you can read the fretboard a bit. You see low spots on the outside edges and a few where the strings go over, which makes total sense. Low spot here, and on the edges here, low spot on the fall away. There's usually this hump here at this area. The edges here, this will make it hard to get good fret edges. So these will have to, or the center of the board will have to come down to meet these at least. But it's looking pretty good. Obviously, I'll also employ my radius here to check around, and the cool thing is that you can see that there's some light there right where the block or the sandpaper didn't touch here. You can really see that there's an issue there. So the neck is also supported right in the middle here. I don't want this neck flexing too much. People have neck jigs and that sort of thing. I think as long as you keep the neck supported, then you're not flexing it too much on one side or the other. I'm using a light touch with the blocks. You can also see on the radius block how it's tracking just here in the middle. So I'm trying my best to keep it straight, and but I'm not going crazy with how much pressure I put in or how much I use this block. This is mostly to mark. I know that Frank Ford, going back to the neck support thing, I know that Frank Ford just used his hand under the neck here to support, and he leveled the fretboard with an old like a Stanley plane without a body, something that's completely flat. So I'm gonna keep working on this, and let's see what I can do here. Getting closer here, you see there's still some spots here in the middle. The edges are coming along, and still a low spot here. I'm being obviously careful not to touch these pickups and all the way around here. I'm gonna clean this up a little bit to get a fresh surface and start going through. Again, still some in the edges here. You can see after cleaning it up, vacuuming it, what we're dealing with here. All of these low spots. And I keep working at it. Getting really close here. See only a few spots on the edges there, the end of the fingerboard. Another thing I'm being careful to do is to collect some of this rosewood dust here for future use. It is Brazilian rosewood. It smells great. It smells like roses. It has a particular smell. But anyway, getting close here, moving forward, checking every now and then with the radius gauge, and doing my best to take care of this 1954 Gibson. I wiped this board clean, and you see still some uneven spots, some low spots here on the edges. The rest of the board is starting to look real good. I took the time to correct. There were a couple of chips from removing the frets, probably. Some of them looked that they were there before. I don't know if this has had refret before, but in any case, I'll take the blame for them. They're small. They're being repaired now, and you see here just at this region low. So I have to make the decision whether I'll keep going. I have to watch out for the inlays as well. I don't want to send them, go too far, but it looks good so far. So let's keep going. Taking this as far as I think I should go. See a couple of low spots here. This is right by the nut. It won't affect the frets or the plane. Same thing here. It's off the frets. As I'm going down, everything's pretty nice and level. There's a couple of low spots here, also not around the frets. And then there is the fall away region here. This particular part has a 10-inch radius, and all the way here. I'm not gonna take all of this material out to dress a part here that doesn't, or to level a part that doesn't have a fret on it. I might work a little bit here, but it's just an older guitar. It has had, it moved around, and this is a bit too low. I don't want to bring everything down here. I'll work a little bit more on it, but I want to be careful not to blast through this side dot here, which is pretty good now. And this is an unplaying region here, right? The fret, I might have a little bit of issue with the end, with the fret end here, but it's on the bass side and it's high up on the neck. I'll work a little bit on it, but this is pretty much done now. Working on these frets now, so with a bound fretboard, see that the tang has to be cut with this tool here, and the underside of the tang, see if I can get the, needs to be polished, and you have to do this polished. You need to do this with every single fret before you can install them, so that they will fit properly in the slot and not disturb the binding. If this cut also is too wide, if there isn't enough room, it will push the binding out. So yeah, a lot more work binding or fretting a bound fretboard. Got my fingerboard prepped, or almost fully prepped. I have to work on the slots. Got my frets here lined up from 1st to 19th, and I got this little number here
to clean the slots with. On a bound fingerboard, can't really use a full size Japanese saw, so this one you go into the slots and clean them out. 20 thousandths thick, very thin, but it's the same width as the tangs of the fret, so perfect match. So I don't put this neck into a back bowl with compression. If the fit is too tight on the frets, that'll be an issue. So I'm going to start cleaning the slots up with this little guy and then refret. And then I'm getting these frets in, hammering them in after the slots have been prepped. Frets are in. Cut off the excess, glue them in with some super thin CA glue. Now on to beveling and the final level. And then I got the instrument refretted here, starting to add the strings. You see that the edges have been beveled. This is fully leveled. Starting to work a bit on this nut now. Here's the final nut of the veneer, the mahogany piece on the bottom there. You see that there is an angle to the bottom of this, and that's because I didn't want to go further down the slot, and the slot itself is angled. I actually flossed the bottom of the nut with some sandpaper strips by matching. I'll put the nut in here, and then the sandpaper goes in between the nut and the slot facing up, and I pulled on it just like on a neck reset. Here it is. There's some strips of sandpaper like this. They will go in here like this, and then the nut will go on top like so. And I would pull, sandpaper will be on there. I'll pull like this to make sure that it's an exact match, and came out pretty good. The nut is being shellacked right now, or the veneer part, and it matches here perfectly. The nut height is good as well. So this is almost done. Full refret. I still have to address the shim under. The new shim is not big enough to cover the previous holes. And you see that there's a bit of glue here left as well from the other shim, which was just a piece of rubber here. And this pickup actually is a bit too high with the shim, even though this shim is very small or very thin. So I had to adjust the pole pieces. So a whole lot of work, but almost done. It's the final adjustments, put on some new strings, and should be fine. I also understand a little bit better now how the binding or the frets in the beginning didn't go over the binding. You see here, it looks exactly like it was before. I thought I would have to go over the binding with the frets, but the binding itself has some bevel, either from the factory or from being, and you can see right here. And when the edges were, when the angle of the edges of the binding were being filed down just naturally, the bindings didn't, or the frets didn't reach all the way to the binding. They just stay on top of the fretboard. So really happy about this. It looks exactly like it was before. Here's the final product, all set up, refretted, cleaned, All the machines have been oiled and adjusted. The ferrules, nut, shimmed and recut. Pickups are balanced, intonated, ready to go.